You don't get it, do you? Blame It on George is perhaps one of the biggest horror or horror-esque channels on YouTube. He's been around since April of 2013 and has amassed a large following for himself, standing at a total of over 1 million subscribers as of the creation of this video. And based on my analytics, a lot of you probably already know who he is. His content about things such as disturbing moments in kids media, lost media, and documentaries on real-life mysteries is what has helped him to shoot so far to the top of the YouTube platform. But what if I were to tell you that he didn't always make this type of content? That the start of his channel was actually quite different, and has almost completely vanished from the internet entirely? Well, that's what I'm here to discuss. In this video, we'll be covering the mysterious origin of the Blame It on George YouTube channel, where he switched genres from skits to top 10s, and how he found massive success on the platform that led to his massive channel today. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's turn back the clock to when it all started. Blame It on George's start on YouTube is shrouded in mystery. In an interview he did back in 2014, he stated that he originally created his first channel after receiving a 5th generation iPod Nano, which was the first model to have a camera, albeit at a crisp 240p resolution. After seeing the success of channels such as Smosh and Ryan Higa, George and his friends created another channel where they created skits and other comedic videos. It's unknown if these channels or any of the videos they housed still stand today. George never linked them to his current channel and has only ever name-dropped one as far as I'm aware. He revealed in a livestream that one of his old channels was named J Station, but attempts to search for it today typically redirect to J Station, the 3 a.m. phone call guy. However, in April of 2013, he created a new channel named Blame It on George. However, it didn't start out how you think it might have, especially if you found his channel only recently, or are just looking at it now. His first video still public on his channel is his top 40 banned or lost episodes of kids shows. However, this was far from the first video he would put on his channel. His first video on the channel came in June of 2013 with a video titled 8 Mind-Blowing Pieces of Art Made with Ridiculous Materials. This video appears to be a video adaptation of a cracked article which he linked in the video's description. At least he bothered crediting the source. He continued with this same format for a small while, although these videos were either deleted, privated, or unlisted sometime before 2014. He continued making more lighthearted and more comedic content on his channel, with videos such as a video covering Pixar Easter eggs, 7 types of friends that everyone needs, which I remember watching once but remember nothing about, and even made videos like a Let's Play series of Happy Wheels and an Omegle series. All of these videos are currently lost as far as I'm aware, with most of them being outright deleted. Depending on how you want to see it, it's either delightfully or tragically ironic that a channel that would go on to be well known for his videos on lost media would have such a history of deleting so many of his videos, both old and new. However, he finally hit his stride with his first somewhat horror video on his channel, that being his video titled Top 10 Scariest Creepypastas. Now, a title like that kinda sounds like a joke or something to be made fun of, but back in 2014, the whole creepypasta culture was just hitting its peak, and most YouTube users had an interest in the concept. It was a while before people would begin to mock creepypasta for being cringy. As such, this video achieved a remarkable success, reaching over 300,000 views in 3 months, which is pretty respectable. After a couple of unrelated videos, he made another countdown video, with this one being on 20 conspiracy theories based on kids shows. After 3 months, this video reached a massive 2 million views, which is nothing to scoff at back in 2014. Recognizing his newfound success, George began to focus more and more on his list videos. He also began collaborating with a couple other YouTubers, specifically That Creepy Reading. He would go on to create videos on Zelda theories, experiment creepypastas, and the first version of his top 20 disturbing moments in kids shows. He also put up a couple more lighthearted videos at this time as well, such as a video discussing whether he was a brony and a skit titled The Donut. His growth rate kept picking up, with George reaching over 100,000 subscribers on his channel in December of 2014. Let me remind you that at the beginning of 2014, he had just 10,000 subscribers and managed to increase it tenfold over the course of the year. That's considerably quick, especially for back then. Like, imagine if next January I hit 100,000 subscribers. 12 months is not that long, and that would be incredible to see, especially for anyone who's been keeping track so far. Even today, 100,000 subscribers is still highly sought after by even some veteran YouTubers, so for George to close that gap in a year is nothing to overlook. But that was all just the prologue, because the true beginning was just about to come. On February 28th, 2015, George uploaded his video Top 40 Lost or Banned Episodes of Kids Shows. Now, the idea of something being banned is inherently interesting to the human mind. The idea that content has been marked as unfit for broadcast or sale, specifically media, appeals to our desire to have or see something hard to obtain. Videos on banned media are a staple on this website, with another big YouTuber, the Jay Witz, having his most viewed video today being the video where he covered banned episodes of the Pokemon anime. Not only did this video cover that, but it also covered lost media. Now, lost media is something a lot of people are familiar with now, but back in 2015, the community for searching for lost media was much smaller. It's easy to think that you can just input anything to Google and find it immediately, but sometimes that doesn't always work. While banned media is typically more sensational in trying to track it down and uncover the controversial material the creators didn't want you to see, lost media has a different effect on the human brain for some odd reason. Discussing media that is lost often has an air of mystery to it, with George's videos making the subject feel kinda dark and disturbing in an odd sense. The idea that there's something that could be lost forever but has a slim chance to be found through enough hard work is just endlessly captivating, and I'm far from the only one who feels this way. This video marked a major turning point for George's channel. Gone was the old George and his more comedic skits, and in came the new George that people came to know him as and came to become fans of. George would no longer create any comedy videos going forward and almost completely leaned into creating horror-esque content. Now, when people typically think of top 10 videos, they immediately think of cheap, low-effort content that are produced by channels such as WatchMojo or Top 15s. But that's honestly a negative stereotype that just persists on the internet today for whatever reason. After all, it's just a format of content, and as such, it can be both done well and done poorly. And with the format allowing for variation of what is discussed in a video, it's an appealing way to make a video on something interesting that can cover a large range of subjects than something like a review or a video essay. George utilized this style of content to create a consistent format for his videos. With that, he used that format to create videos people were bound to be drawn to, finding success for himself in both horror content and nostalgic content, like his Disney, Pixar, and Childhood Theories videos. Nostalgia is pretty easy to sell, and talking about conspiracies or disturbing moments in what is otherwise an inoffensive kids show is intriguing due to the contrast in subject matter. He continued his success with a short series of videos covering urban legends and myths, with him making videos on Japanese urban legends that turned out to be true, Mexican urban legends, Disney urban legends, and English urban legends. These videos reached high amounts of views almost overnight, with the video about real urban legends reaching over 1 million views in just a month. Despite the success of the series, however, almost all of them have either been deleted or unlisted off of his channel, with the only exception being the Japanese urban legends video. Similarly, he created a video titled Creepy Videos from the Internet, which was also either unlisted or deleted in its entirety as well. From here, George would focus more on disturbing, eerie, or just weird media that you've probably never seen, as well as making more videos on lost media. Everything from lost kids films, lost video games, lost audio, and updates on the status of all of those were made during this time. His videos on lost media, while perhaps not the most popular on his channel, are undeniably the most important ones he's created. With his already massive success, it's likely that a lot of people's first experiences with lost media came from one of George's videos. I definitely know it was my first time ever hearing the concept. The idea of something existing but just vanishing off the face of the earth is endlessly fascinating, and I truly believe George's videos were instrumental in getting the lost media community as a whole to where it is today. George would continue this form of content for almost 3 years, with him also mixing the occasional more lighthearted video here and there, like the 7 insanely shitty superhero ripoffs, or 10 incredibly lame 90s mascots that time tried to forget. But in August of 2016, we would see yet another change in George's content online. In that month, he released a video titled Dan Schneider, A Scandal at Nickelodeon, a 20-minute documentary on the producer behind many of Nick's most lucrative sitcoms. This was the first video since The Donut, aside from some channel updates, to not be made in the normal countdown format. George explained in a pinned comment that he's wanted to make documentary-styled videos for some time now, and that he finally decided to make his first doc on Schneider. What this started was a different, more contemporary style of Blame It on George. While his top 10s were still very popular, it can be a good idea to branch out and try something different, and George did this by utilizing another of his strengths. If there's one thing George excels at, it's creating a great atmosphere in his videos. Atmosphere is kind of a hard thing to perfect on YouTube, as every aspect has to work with each other to create an effective atmosphere. And with many YouTube channels assembling whole teams to get the work done efficiently, it can be hard to maintain a certain atmosphere when you have multiple people with different styles all collaborating on the same video. However, to this day, George writes and edits most, if not all, of his videos, and while he might not always be the narrator every time, the guest narrators are typically from other horror or horror-esque channels, helping to keep the dark, somber atmosphere. George also uses his passion for video editing to both give his presentation a striking edge and to also complete the atmosphere. Things like the impressive title cards, the darker color scheme, the calmer narration, and many of the other graphics he's created truly elevate his videos to a whole new level. With these new documentaries also came a new approach to his lost media videos. Rather than creating something like Top 10 Lost Blanks, he instead based his new lost media videos on the search efforts to find these pieces of lost media. He made videos on the Search for a Day with SpongeBob, the Cracks Sesame Street short, and the Gravity Falls pilot. He also started a new series titled The Lost Media Case Files, where he would look at a small set of lost media and discuss the details about and surrounding that piece of lost media. It's a way for George to talk about lost media that he finds interesting without it having to be centered around a certain thing like a list of lost movies or lost games. It could be anything from lost literature to lost computer programs and anything in between. It gives him more flexibility and variety in the topics he chooses to discuss and highlight, and is a more interesting way of continuing to discuss lost media. After making so many lists, it's probably tough for George to make yet another list of lost media lists without it having to center around a certain medium. This allows him versatility in how he creates the videos going forward. Sometimes he can just hit a wall where talking more and more about what's lost just stops being as interesting as perhaps it once was. There's only really a finite amount of lost media really worth talking about, and creators often don't want to just start discussing things that don't really interest them, as it's just less fun to make that way, and is typically much less fun to watch. But sometimes, even just the search for something that was once lost can be interesting in its own right. I definitely know that making these videos discussing the history of big YouTubers is definitely fun. Digging through webpage archives and rummaging through links to find something interesting. It creates a nice, neat image and timeline for how we came from the beginning to where we are today. Speaking of which, that brings us to George's channel as it stands today. Currently, he seems to be finding a lot of enjoyment in documenting real-life mysteries that remain unsolved to this day. He's made quite a few videos on people who have simply disappeared and remain so to this day. These types of stories always give me the chills and are some of my favorite videos to watch. Similarly to lost media, the idea that a real human person can simply disappear and remain missing for years is endlessly mystifying, and covering these stories and the events that led up to their disappearance is very engaging. And I think it's safe to assume that George's viewers agree to some degree. With George now continuing to cover these unsolved mysteries, there's always something for his fans to look forward to. George now stands at a tall 1 million subscribers and continues to grow day by day. George has evolved from being a kid who made videos with his friends on his iPod Nano to now being a massive channel creating documentaries that challenge the ones even created by Hollywood studios. And I'm hopeful for what his future might bring, and how he will change going forward. Thank you guys for watching this summary of the history of Blame It on George and analyzing what makes his content so unique on YouTube. He might not be my all-time favorite YouTuber, but he's definitely in my top 5, and there's a lot I want to learn and adapt from his videos into some of my future videos. And speaking of which, my next couple videos are going to be some big ones. Probably the most ambitious in my history as a YouTuber, so be prepared for what I have in store. But until then, I was Rhythm Rev, and I'll see you on the other side.